And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road. Before you ride, make sure your mirrors are clean and adjusted properly. And if you're going on a group ride, make sure the lead biker knows where they're going.
Ed, quick question. Where are you taking us?
Oh, I have no idea. Well, am I the leader? Because I was following that dude with the red helmet. Where is he?
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.
And there we go. Who else is joining us here today? Steve Garvey. He'll hit a home run for you. Project Blue Book. Nice to have you here as we continue on. Mule Skinner. Nice to see you. And, there's Awesome Cat Chaser kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is an awesome way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Boom! To the gorgeous Bama. Right there. Boom! That's how we do it. It's just a big explosion. Alpha Sheepdog, welcome to the channel as we're running out of time here. And who else do we have coming into the chat room? The gorgeous Pam McSee. Nice to see you. Jay Breezy, good to have you here. And the stunning Marie from L.A., Todd Purden is here. And there is the gorgeous and talented Kira. Paradox Fossils, we're shutting it down right there. Horns up. Let's rock. In 25 seconds. Boy, did I set that up for wrongness. Now I feel like a little bit of a heel doing this. Now, what do I do for like 20 seconds? Yeah, do some shopping in our store if you don't mind. Hi, gorgeous Carol. And Mama Susan. Nice to see you. Okay, horns up now. We got like 5 seconds. I'm going to hold it right there because Bumblefoot rocks. He's going to bring out Little Brother is Watching. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, and check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. All right, here we go, as we got a great show planned for you. Samantha Treasure became interested in out-of-body experiences after her own recurring experiences, which started back in 2009. She is currently studying medical anthropology to explore these states further and writing a book on non-standard supernatural experiences for inner traditions and bear company. And she has also given talks on OBEs in Japan, the United Kingdom, Russia, and the United States on the culture and the phenomenology of OBEs, exploring OBE figures in comparison with lucid dream characters for her Bachelor's of Science thesis. Samantha is currently based out of South Korea, but she's a good Canadian kid at heart, and we welcome her to tonight's show. Samantha Treasure, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you, Dave. How are you?
Well, besides, getting ready for Christmas and it being damn cold here, woke up this morning at minus 22 Celsius, which was, I believe, around minus 13 Fahrenheit. That's just cold. That's just cold. It's not fun.
That's a lot of cold.
That's a lot of cold. Hella cold. But you know what? Hey. What that means for me is getting close to Christmas. The lakes are freezing, which means I can continue my tradition with my boy. And on Christmas Day, after we open presents and before dinner, we're all going to go out and skate and play a little hockey outside. Doesn't get much more Canadian than that.
Yeah, I miss those Canadian Christmases. You can't beat them.
I don't blame you. Samantha, thank you so much for being a part of tonight's show, because I got to tell you, out of all the experiences that I have had, I'm proud to say I've not had an out-of-body experience. I have astral traveled. I have done that. But to actually leave my body with that silver cord that stretches, longer than any type of silly putty, that just freaks me out. Freaks me out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
me too.
Let's learn about you. Let's go back to 2009. Did you know what out-of-body experiences were?
Yeah. Actually, I'll go back a little bit further. So to when I was 8 years old, and I grew up on a farm in Ontario, and there were a lot of paranormal experiences there, which is what got me interested in these kinds of things. But my brother was about 6 years old, and one day he was napping on the couch, and then he got up and he told me and my mom that he had just gone out of his body and gone outside. And when he went outside, he saw our neighbor come over holding a cherry cheesecake. She was on her way to our house. And so I remember my mom kind of arguing with him and saying, "Oh no, that was just a dream." And he was like, no, it was real. And I was just thinking, "Oh, cherry cheesecake, I've never had that before. I wonder what that's like." And then while they were arguing, there was a knock at the door, and it was my neighbor with a cherry cheesecake. And it's not like she came over a lot or to bring food over or anything like that. So it was really, really bizarre. And even if he was awake looking out the window, he couldn't have seen the road from there to see her come with the cherry cheesecake. So that, I remember thinking, okay, so this is something that exists in this world, and it's something that people are able to do to kind of see things that are beyond the four walls of the room that you're in. And I was really interested in books and going to the library. So whenever I would go to the library, I would try to find esoteric subjects and read about astral projection and these kinds of things. And I found some books. I can't remember which ones they were now, but they would have techniques for you to try at home. And so every couple of years, I would get really into it and try these meditation techniques. And then I would try and give up because it wouldn't work. But one of the things that people often say precedes an OBE, especially when they try to do it themselves, regardless, or instead of just a spontaneous one, is that they feel the kind of this vibrational state. They'll feel their body vibrating or shaking. And so I actually did feel that once when I was 13, and it was strangely triggered by a gangster rap song. So I was at my friend's house, and we were just kind of lying around listening to music, and there was this song by Onyx, and it was, we were listening to it really, really loud. It was a really overstimulating song, and I suddenly started to feel very light and floaty, and started to get these kind of vibrations, and that lasted a few seconds. It's quite jarring, so it can snap you out of it. But it wasn't until recently that I understood why that could have triggered the beginnings of an OBE, because there's kind of two principles involved. One is understimulation, and one is overstimulation. So understimulation could be you're very absorbed in meditation, so you're not paying attention to the senses, the external or internal senses. And so they're becoming muted, and you're just more in yourself and less in your body. And the other one is overstimulation, where there's just too much going on, and it can kind of shift you into, your brain doesn't know what to do. It can't create an environment from all of this feedback. So it tends to switch into the cache files, a more stable reality based on your expectations and your memories. So those are the two principles involved. So that's why I think gangster rap is a trigger for OBEs. Not many people know that, but it seems to be true. And rock music as well, really loud rock music.
Yes.
That's
what we promote around.
Interested in that. And then in my 20s, I was getting into lucid dreaming, and I was trying these meditation techniques. And after about 2 weeks of meditating for about 20 minutes before sleep, I gave up. I didn't do the meditation one night. And that was when I had my first real OBE. I just suddenly found myself downstairs and I didn't know how I got there. So, and then it seemed like this meditation practice, I accidentally programmed myself to automatically start having OBEs. So after that, it just kind of kept happening. And like you, it really freaked me out. So most of them, I would get the vibrations and then I would start to feel myself float out of my body. And I never looked back to see my body because that freaked me out. I didn't want to see my body. But yeah, most of the times I was really freaked out about it too.
Being at such a young age, having these experiences.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, I don't know what's gone on here. I do not know what's gone on. Let's try this.
I can't hear you for some reason.
I don't know what's happening with our audio here because...
there we go. You're back.
Okay,
You're back.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right, that makes me feel good now. All right, being that this happened to you at such a young age that you were, not only seeing or understanding what the paranormal was all about with OBEs, with that experience with your brother, but trying to trigger it for yourself, did you feel, or you must have felt at a young age that this was something that you just needed to do? You needed to learn about this. You needed to figure out what it was. I mean, you seem pretty driven about this.
I seem pretty what, sorry?
Driven about this.
Driven? Yeah, I think I think it was more, just the human motivations that we have to get information. And this was one way of getting information. It was kind of like accessing the internet, just in a really difficult way. Because of my brother's experience, I felt like there's all this information out there and this kind of other world out there that I know I can access, but I just need to get there. I felt like I was kind of missing out on something big.
Samantha, were you always a spiritual person? Like, were you always feeling that you had a connection to consciousness or your own body?
Yeah, I think from as long as I can remember. And I think it runs in the family. It's the same with my mom. She saw her grandfather, who had passed away 6 weeks previously when she was a toddler. And she saw him a few nights in a row. It really scared her, though. She was only, I think, about 5 years old. And my first memory was of my mom tucking me into bed and closing the door, and then immediately seeing there was 3 stuffed animals on the top shelf, and 2 of them floated down, one of them to the end of my bed and just stayed there. And the other one went next to me, and it was kind of moving like this, like when you try to show a toy to a baby, you kind of go like this. It was doing that. And I was terrified, and I put the covers over my head. And when I woke up in the morning, I was still under the covers. And I remember thinking, oh, I wonder where the toys are once I look, and then counting to 3 and getting up my courage to look. And the toys were on the top shelf. So that could have been a very vivid dream. That could have been a kind of OBE. I have no idea. But that was kind of always there.
But this entire thing, this phenomena, has literally led you down your entire path of education as well. Yeah,
with some detours. Like I tried for years to have a normal life and like learn IT and just kind of have a normal job and kind of ignore that side of things. I was kind of curious about what it was like to be a normal person, like somebody that hasn't had these experiences. That was pretty boring though. So I was like, oh no, I have these childhood mysteries that I really need to solve, and life is too short. So,
well, I mean, you got to grasp it when you have the opportunity. You really do. I mean, it was, you know, as I said on Instagram earlier today, it was 10 years ago tonight that I saw Guns N' Roses for the first time ever. And I've been a fan since 1988. '87 when Appetite for Destruction came out. And long story short, one of their guitarists was a guy named Ron Bumblefoot Thal. And our music for this show is now done by Ron Bumblefoot Thal. You know, so, I mean, there's all these weird synchronicities that you have to follow sometimes, and you have to, you know, abide by what the world's consciousness is telling you.
Yeah, it's very strange when you start to ask those questions.
What do you enjoy about this?
It's kind of spooky. Yeah.
What do you enjoy about this?
Sorry, could you say that again? It was kind of cutting out.
Not a problem. For people on our radio side who don't understand, Samantha is in South Korea, so there is a little bit of a lag that is, you know, maybe cutting out a little bit. So I asked, what do you really enjoy about this entire phenomena and researching it?
I think the question of why certain people are having certain experiences really fascinates me, and the fact that you can never tie things up neatly in a bow or under some grand narrative. You might think that you're getting close to answering these questions about what it's all about or the mechanisms behind it. Like there's papers out there that kind of can explain part of OBEs or part of these phenomena, but not all of them, and that keeps things really interesting. So, for example, last year I was helping people who have sleep paralysis, like recurrent sleep paralysis. So they wake up in the middle of the night or as they're going to sleep or waking up, and they can't speak and they can't move. And sometimes they're still in a kind of dream state. So they can normally they see their sleep environment, but then superimposed on that can be like sort of scary figures or voices or the feeling of somebody sitting on your chest and that kind of thing. So there's so many things that can trigger sleep paralysis. And there was one woman who we just couldn't get to the bottom of it because she was spending a few days at home and then a few days at her friend's house going back and forth. And it would only happen at her house. So a lot of times when it only happens in one location, people start to think that maybe it's haunted. And I have heard some stories that, you know, it does sound like maybe there's something like that going on. And then we finally got to the bottom of it. And what it was that she was only drinking coffee while she was at home, and that was disrupting her sleep cycle. So she stopped drinking coffee, and a month later she messaged me back and she said her sleep paralysis stopped. But the only problem with that was she started to have nightmares instead. So there's just always something, and you just kind of go into this rabbit hole, and it's complex. It's kind of like being a detective, I guess.
My spiritual guru, Pascal, is in our chat room tonight. I haven't seen him in here in a few weeks, and I always get nervous and geeked up when he is here because I can feel his energy. And I will never forget some of the most profound words he ever said to me, which is, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? A lot of people don't really understand, Samantha, that the rabbit hole isn't just fiction. It is a real trip. It is a very scary place, happy place, spiritual place, odd place. And when you go down that rabbit hole, sometimes you can't stop. It's exactly like Alice in Wonderland. And a lot of people don't get that. What is your description of the rabbit hole? Well,
this is, Alice in Wonderland, it sounds like a trip, like an altered state of consciousness. And it could be similar to an out-of-body experience or a lucid dream or something. And I think that once somebody starts going down the rabbit hole, normally in an altered state of consciousness, there's rabbit holes, like internet rabbit holes, you can go down as well. But these kind of altered states rabbit holes, you feel completely immersed in the environment and you're exploring something that is not coming from the physical senses. And especially with OBEs, it seems very, very stable. It's not changeable. It's usually not so bizarre like a lucid dream is. But the interesting thing is people seem to find themselves drawn to certain places or people or events or themes. And it's different for everybody, which is quite nice. It's like we all have our own personal spiritualities or a kind of a core spiritual history that we can tap into. That's what it feels like anyway. Like we have this almost like a library of experiences within us that could come from anything. It could come from our dreams or our past lives or future lives. Like I don't know where it comes from, but then sometimes you get these experiences that are very similar to other people's experiences. And then if you find them, you start to kind of create these almost like, I don't know, not like necessarily like a religion, but you can put your heads together and start to try to figure out where it's coming from. So mine were very, very, very weird, and it freaked me out and actually made me stop having OBEs for a while. And that is that most of my OBEs, I would feel myself pulled, and normally it would be from my lower back for some reason. It was always consistent. I would be pulled, and then I would be accelerating really, really fast. And when I slowed down, I would be in what appeared to be Tokyo in the future, like maybe a few hundred years in the future. And that was really weird. I've never been, I'd never been interested in Japan. I mean, I actually did live there for a couple of years in my early 20s, but I was never really interested in Japan itself. I just kind of went there for work and to study. And I was thinking, oh, maybe it's because I watched Sailor Moon when I was a kid, and maybe my mind created this place for me to go to.
If job security, service to country, and federal civil service employment interest you, consider a seagoing career with the U.S. Navy's Military Sealift Command. While earning a competitive salary, you will be able to apply your skills to a position in the communications, navigation, engineering, culinary, or supply departments on board our vessels. Learn more about these careers at www.sealiftcommand.com or call 1-877-JOBS-MSC to take command of your career.
When it comes to learning, your kids' favorites from Paw Patrol and Blue's Clues are Noggin, a learning app designed to help kids build math and literacy skills. Claim a limited-time holiday offer of 99 cents a month plus taxes for 3 months at noggin.com/iHeart. $7.99 a month plus taxes until you cancel after free trial ends. Visit noggin.com for terms and conditions.
Where I feel like it's my home. But I don't know. I mean, but then I actually ended up meeting somebody who had almost the exact same experiences as me. So you're always trying to like rationalize things because you want to keep a tether on you. You don't really want to get lost in a rabbit hole because, it's the fear of sort of losing your mind. And I was thinking about this, like, what is it that I'm really afraid of? And I think it's not so much losing my mind. It's what that means. It's that you would be away from society. You'd be away from your loved ones because you have completely different worldviews if you keep going down that path. I was thinking if I kept going down that path, I would end up thinking that I'm living in a simulation. I'm really from the future, which might be true. I don't know, but I wasn't ready. So like you, I was getting quite freaked out about OBEs.
Do you ever regret going down the rabbit hole? We got about 90 seconds before we have to go to break.
No. And I've been quite hesitant to teach people to have OBEs, but having said that, I wouldn't give up my experiences for anything in the world.
Neither would I. And I blame Pascal for that. Thank you, Pascal. Appreciate you turning me into a weirdo. And I know you're laughing right now.
Well, you're in good company. There's a lot of weirdos out there now.
I know. I mean, you know what, though?
We're not so bad.
You know what, though? The rabbit hole for me is something that is, I think it's personal for each and every one of us. Your experience down the rabbit hole is going to be different from mine. Mine is more extraterrestrial. Yours is more ethereal. You know, it always amazes me where consciousness or spirit wants to take us.
Yeah. I do think it's all connected as well. It can overlap.
Why is that?
I've had some experiences which could be interpreted as kind of contactee experiences too.
Oh, here we go. Now we're getting into the juice of Samantha Treasure. You're lucky we're coming up to a break here. But when we come back, we're totally getting into your experiences because now I need to know. Now I totally need to know. And this is where it's going to get very, very interesting. Very interesting indeed as we continue on Spaced Out Radio with the second half hour coming up right after the break. Our guest tonight, Samantha Lee Treasure, a good Canadian kid living all the way in South Korea because her Zen and her Chi led her there. Sometimes you just got to follow spirit, people. It's kind of a trip when you do. Because you never know where they, whoever they are going to take you. Spaced Out Radio continues with a second half hour right after this. All right, we're clear. That was a good solid first half hour.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I hope we can, I think I've got enough for 2.5 hours.
You will.
You're going to get all the weird stories out of me now.
I am getting everything freaking weird out of you tonight.
All right, so we have about 6 minutes, right?
5.
5 minutes? Okay, I'll just take a quick break.
You go. You go. She's awesome. She is. Hi, gorgeous Tammy Finnegan. Pascal, you want to come on with me on New Year's Eve? Open invite to you. 1 week from tonight. Hi, Alex Kuhn. Wouldn't our audience love to see Pascal come on with me on Christmas Eve night? He's going to go silent now. He's going to be like, shut up, Dave. I'll come on when I'm ready. Shut up. Marvin, how are you, buddy? Jeremy Jones, what's happening? Yes, Uncle Dale, we can do that. It's an open forum on Christmas Eve. Redcap, what's happening? You can come on the show, Dirty Filth. Of course you can. So my boss got me a watch for Christmas. Show it to you. It is a Nubio watch. Just like that. And this watch's name, he got it for me because it's called Megalodon. This is my Megalodon watch. It's heavy, too. Love heavy watches. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hey, I am alive tomorrow in Australia, where it's 37 Celsius in the man cave. God, that's hot. That's forest fire hot. Yet it is waterproof and good at 200 meters. It's heavy. I like it. Pascal, thank you again for the lovely super chat. Does this mean you're going to come on? Alien Believers, how you doing? Oh, wonderful, Gordium. Thank you so much for the shutout. Am I taking it this watch into the ocean, Cosmic Fleur? No, but I will take it to Vegas for our party on April 22nd and 24th. And Samantha Lee Treasure is going to fly all the way in from South Korea to party with us.
Heck yes. Wouldn't that be great?
Gorgeous D. Swagger. Sweet Donna C. Welcome. 405er, nice to see you. And go from there. That's the watch there. That's a nice watch, eh, Jeff Gear? The Desert Clam. Yeah, this sucker's heavy. Feels great, though. I love watching. Hey, Pix, how are you, man? Good to see you. Big thank you to Pascal ×2, Carlito, Larry, and Cat Chaser for the awesome super chats. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. Hi, Grand Paul Holland in Australia. And we're going to get going, like, right now. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Samantha Lee Treasure. Out-of-body experiences and strange woo all around. We're going down the rabbit hole tonight. Why? Because we can. And that's what we do on this show, is we're going to literally the woo train just went from 5th gear to 8th gear, and we're heading for 9th and 10th. Samantha, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, so we were talking about aliens and stuff. Aliens and OBEs and that kind of thing.
You got aliens?
Getting weirder.
Do you got aliens? Be honest.
I'll get there. I'll get there. Yeah. It got really weird. It's gotten really weird, that's for sure. I think for some context, I should kind of go back to the Future Tokyo experiences. So it started as dreams when I was young, when I was maybe, 3, 4 or something. I started dreaming about a shopping mall. And as I got older, the shopping mall kind of fleshed out and got bigger, and I started to become lucid. So I would be familiar with it. Oh, I must be dreaming. And then I know if I go around this corner, there's a video arcade with false rock walls. And then across from there, there's ice cream parlor and that kind of thing. I had this whole kind of map. And then it sort of became bigger and involved a city, which for some reason was Tokyo and all this kind of thing. It just fleshed out to be like a whole kind of sci-fi world. And there was nothing about aliens nothing alien about it. It was very sort of, normal, I guess. But so in my early 20s, I lived in Tokyo, and I was working in a really busy international bar. So the staff and the customers were from all over the world. And there was one woman there who, every time I saw her, it was like something was telling me, you need to talk to this woman. But I never got a chance to talk to her. We were always too busy. So 3 years passed, and I moved to London, England. And my flatmate got me an interview with her workplace. And as I was walking out of the interview, the same woman from 3 years earlier was walking in to the building. And I noticed her because of those feelings that I had. I recognized her, and I said, "You used to work in this place in Tokyo?" And she said, "Yeah." So we ended up working together there for about a year and became good friends. And she was also interested in supernatural things. And then it got really weird about 2 years after that. We were having lunch, and she told me that she had had recurring dreams of flooding, of being in a kind of a shopping center in the sort of like a staircase that only the staff uses, which also, I'd also had a lot of dreams like that. And she was describing this place that she always dreams about, but she described it to me as a hotel with a shopping mall underneath. And at the time, I didn't think anything weird about it. I was like, oh yeah, I had similar dreams since I was a toddler, but I would describe it as a shopping mall with a hotel on top, because I would kind of mostly be on the bottom floors. And as we're talking more and more, we start to share our experiences and finish each other's sentences, start to sketch things out, things that are in the city, start to sketch it on napkins and finish each other's drawings. So that kind of made me think. Up until that point, I told myself that because of my favorite TV shows as a kid, so I like Today's Special. I don't know if you watched that when you were a kid. It takes place in a department store. And again, like I liked Sailor Moon when I was in adolescent years, and maybe my brain created this wonderful place for me. But then meeting her, I started to think, oh, maybe this place is actually real. And the funny thing is, because this shows my bias against aliens, was that she also told me about alien experiences that she had had. And for some reason, I just kind of blanked that part out. I didn't really bring that into the equation of anything that we were experiencing. But in 2012, so this is kind of the peak period where I'm having a lot of lucid dreams and OBEs and sometimes sleep paralysis. Some of the experiences I had were kind of alien themed. So like I would see sort of alien-like hieroglyphics, or there would be, an alien showing me something like a screen, showing me scenes on a screen. And for me, when I woke up, I would just think, you've been reading too much sci-fi, and leave it at that. But I was aware that a lot of people would interpret that as a contact D experience. And if I'm being honest, I think that the reason I didn't interpret it that way was because it really freaked me out. I remember seeing E.T. as a kid, and I didn't like it at all. There was something about it that felt kind of cold and made me feel like I have no power, like there's this kind of species that's out there that is much more powerful than us, and kind of, triggers an existential crisis. So I tried to ignore that. But when I decided to study anthropology to learn more about OBEs, I knew that I would have to kind of practice being more professional and more neutral with people that might have completely different beliefs than me. So I thought I should talk to contactees and both try to practice interviewing them, but also I have my own experiences. If I ask them about these experiences, then I wonder what they would make of that, and maybe I can discover why we interpret this differently. So I plan to spend 1 month talking to contactees, and it ended up being about a year. And so I spoke to maybe about 35 or 40 people from around the world, mostly in the UK. Most of them were in-person meetings in the UK. And in the end, it just completely freaked me out, and I had to give it up.
Wow. At any time, did you feel like you were out of control of what was going on?
Yes. Yeah, increasingly over that year, increasingly. Yes, it was very, very, very strange. Because at first, so I was interviewing people with another woman who had also had experiences, and over that year, sometimes she would be a skeptic and I would start to be believing in it, and then sometimes I would be like, oh no, I think we can explain this rationally, and then she would be like, no, I think there's something here. So we were kind of on the fence, but we were interviewing maybe like one person a week or something like that, and there were no problems. And then all of a sudden, right before meeting someone, they would cancel, and it would happen week after week after week. And these are people that don't know each other. And some people were telling me that right before they were going to go out to meet us, they would suddenly get a migraine, and they felt as though the aliens or whoever was behind these experiences knew that we were talking and didn't want this to happen. And in the end, even the woman that was interviewing with me, she said that it felt as though, kind of like with narcolepsy, like you just suddenly get really, really tired, and it's like a plug has been pulled and you feel completely drained. So that was weird. I couldn't explain that.
Were other people around you in your circle at that time going through the same thing?
Like family and friends and that kind of thing? Yeah. No. No, but my brother, when he, again, the one that had OBEs, when he was a kid, he did say that he had like UFO experiences a couple of times.
Now, what's weird about this all, though, is to this date you still have an extraterrestrial fear of things.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Which would mean,
I don't know what it is.
Which would mean that maybe deep down inside your subconscious that you really do have aliens.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think that the more I had my own experiences and talked to people about their experiences, the more I think that reality is much more exotic than we know, than we can probably conceive of.
Well, I mean, I could put my Dr. Phil mustache on, and we can maybe try and figure out whether or not you got aliens. I mean, we could totally do that if you want.
I don't want to know.
What terrifies you about extraterrestrials?
I think it's just, you know what I think it is? So this is the case with a lot of the people that I spoke to that year, was that most of them were having these dreams or experiences where they were being experimented on, or they were involved in some kind of project. And I think it's the possibility of being involved without your consent or without your knowledge in something that is much more intelligent than our species can comprehend. I think it's the power or the possibility of being manipulated, which I think that is what scares me about it. So for OBEs, this is the point where I stopped being afraid of OBEs. I started to be afraid of them again because of the Future Tokyo things, and I was like, I'm going to lose my mind if I keep doing this. But the point where I stopped shaking myself out of it when it was happening was, as I was waking up one morning, it occurred to me that if,
Deloitte is the world's largest professional services network, and there's a reason for that: consistency. But how does a giant global company provide consistency? Easy. With ServiceNow, they connect all 300,000 plus of their professionals on a single platform, the Now Platform. So whether someone works in Indonesia, Mexico, or any other of the 148 countries they operate in, ServiceNow helps Deloitte perform their work from a common and connected place. They can leverage the same powerful tools they need to adapt to changing markets and get the same proactive support they need to thrive. And with ServiceNow IT solutions, Deloitte can easily consolidate and scale their technology so professionals can access it wherever they are. So, how does Deloitte keep a consistently high standard for global clients? With ServiceNow, they can keep a consistently high standard for global professionals. Learn more at servicenow.com.
When it comes to learning, your kids' favorites from Paw Patrol and Blue's Clues are Noggin, a learning app designed to help kids build math and literacy skills. Claim a limited time holiday offer of 99 cents a month plus taxes for 3 months at noggin.com/iHeart. $7.99 a month plus taxes until you cancel after free trial ends. Visit noggin.com for terms and conditions.
like a lot of people think that we survived death and that maybe our souls existed before we were born here, then if we have eternal souls, then, the time that we spend in our physical bodies is just a little blip in the ocean. So it's kind of like our birthright, or it's natural for us to be out of the body. It's something that I think probably everyone can do. And I think people can have negative experiences as well, or maybe come into contact with entities or people that don't have your best interests at heart. But I think that it's more, it seems like a more natural thing that we can do. And it's generally very positive and kind of blissful. Whereas aliens, it's like, oh, well, why are they, if they are here, why are they here? And what are they doing?
Well, that is the $1 million question. I think we already know they're here. But what their purpose is hasn't been figured out yet, and what the relevance that it is to humankind and humanity in general, that's another major story that we definitely don't know the answer to. For you, as you look around the entire extraterrestrial side of everything, would you want to know deep down through regression about what you've gone through? Like
through hypnotic regression?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have had hypnotic regression before, and I have a lot of doubts about hypnosis. So I first had a few sessions of hypnotic regression because I was having recurring dreams, and this was before I had the OBEs. And I wanted to get to the bottom of that. Why was I having these? They weren't good or bad. They were just persistent. And the woman who was hypnotizing me, she also did past life regression. And I was curious about that. So I had 2 sessions, I think, 1 or 2 sessions. And I actually felt as though it was almost like there were memories coming up, but it almost felt like I was remembering a film that I had seen. Not that it had any content that I was familiar with from any TV or film, but that's the way it felt. It didn't feel like it was really a part of me. It felt more like it was trying to show me my own bad habits by taking on somebody else's character, someone else's appearance, to give me distance to sort of see, because sometimes we don't see things in ourselves, but if it's in somebody else, it's more obvious to us. So that's how it felt for me. And then in my medical anthropology course as well, we were learning about hypnosis, and that some therapists say that they have to undo a lot of trauma and a lot of issues caused by people who have gone under hypnosis. So like they might go into dissociative states or psychotic states and that kind of thing. So I haven't looked too much into hypnosis, but I think that is something to kind of be careful with. And and because of that, because it almost seemed like I was looking at a dream sequence when I was under hypnosis. So I kind of question how accurate what you're seeing is. So I would say rather than hypnosis, maybe OBEs, trying to have an OBE, because I think sometimes you can have imaginary content in an OBE, but there are also a lot of stories about veridical information, picking up information that's really happening, and people saying that some people have past life experiences with their OBEs or somehow seem to be time traveling, which is weird and interesting.
What's the difference as we shift gears here from extraterrestrials to out-of-body experiences? What is the difference between an OBE and an NDE, so an out-of-body experience from a near-death experience?
So an NDE, I've also heard it as sort of described as a trauma-induced OBE. I haven't looked too much into NDEs, but one interesting thing that I heard was that the NDE, there seems to be kind of a progression of experiences that happen. So sometimes somebody, they seem to go through a tunnel or see light, see loved ones, this kind of thing. Sometimes there's a period of blackness, of like nothingness. And then there might be something else, and so on. And that maybe if you continue to die, we don't know what's going to happen after that. There could be different stages. And it's similar with OBEs. If you have a really long OBE, you can see it change over that time. So the question is, I don't really know, but I think there are a lot of similarities. But I don't think NDEs are really proof of an afterlife. But I think if somebody was interested in looking at proof of the afterlife, I think I can tell you a great story from a good friend of mine.
Please do.
So I think it's more about like visitations from loved ones and that kind of thing. So I have a good friend, I'll call her Jane. And both her and her mom, since they were kids, they were able to have OBEs just naturally. And sadly, my friend's little sister passed away. And so my friend decided that she would try to have an OBE to talk to her and meet her. And so she had an OBE, and she was calling out for her sister. And she wasn't coming, so she had to keep calling out and waiting. Finally, she showed up. And this is the only experience I've heard of like this. She said she looked like she was made of rainbows. And they talked for a while, and then she said she had to go. She had to go on a vacation. And when she looked out the window, there was this cruise ship. And she had the feeling that she was going to somewhere like a nicer place. Now, the interesting thing is that in the morning, her mom told her that she had a dream about her as well at the same time. So she was dreaming that she was walking with her deceased daughter through a forest. And all of a sudden, the daughter said, "Do you hear that?" And the mother was like, "No." She said, "Oh, it's Jane. Jane's calling me. I have to go." And then she disappeared. And my friend had been calling for her in her OBE state. So it's almost like, she was visiting the mother, and then when my friend called her, she moved on to her.
Awesome.
That
one hit home.
Quite a comforting story.
That one, you have no idea how much that one hit home. Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, I do believe that there's, life after death in some way.
Mm-hmm. That there it is. As we continue on, we have about 2 minutes to go with Samantha Treasure before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. And, when you hear that experience where you induce your own out-of-body experience. What's the difference then between an out-of-body experience and astral travel?
A lot of people use the same terminology. Astral projection or astral travel was usually the word that was used in spiritual groups or occult groups. But I think nowadays people are more distinguishing it as an out-of-body experience is usually something spontaneous, or the experience of feeling yourself floating out or peeling out of your physical body. You can kind of feel this separation of self happening. And astral projection, people have been using that term to mean that they have self-initiated it. But there's been a few researchers that have found differences in whether these experiences start through self-initiation or spontaneously. So the spontaneous experiences, they tend to be more veridical, so you get kind of more stability and see what is really there. There's a higher chance of that, apparently. But also there seems to be less free movement. Your movement is more restricted. So spontaneous OBEs, for that reason, can feel like somebody else is inducing the OBE, like a figure or a spiritual being or something like that. And the restricted movement can sometimes feel as though you're being pulled somewhere in order to show you something, or because you have a connection to that place or that person or event for some reason. But the self-initiated ones, they tend to have a little bit more imaginary content. So sometimes, especially the longer it goes on, sometimes you see something that you've seen in your waking life that day, like a notebook or a banana or like a dream journal or something. And you're generally more free to move around. And then what I found through my dissertation was that there seems to also be more figures present in self-initiated OBs.
We're going to continue on with the out-of-body experience talk, astral travel, that thin silver cord that seems to stretch on forever. We're going to learn all about that. Samantha Lee Treasure is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Out-of-body experiences, the consciousness behind them. It's an interesting topic tonight, heading into hour number 2. We'll also take audience questions if you're in one of our chat rooms as well. Spaced Out Radio continues with a wonderful show right after this. We're clear. You hit me with a sledgehammer with that one, you know.
Yeah, hopefully in a good way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of strangeness. My friend Pascal wants to know, do you feel a pressure at the base of your neck?
Does Pascal, do you mean during an OBE or?
No, right now. I know what he's doing. I know.
Oh, right now. Is he out of body behind me?
No, he just he's tapped into the universe.
Oh, I haven't noticed anything. No.
High mystery and solitude?
That's gonna freak me out now.
Nah, don't let it freak you out. My daughter and I astral traveled to find my nephew on the other side after he passed.
No way.
Yeah. Drew Morris, how you doing? Redcap, nice to see you. Yeah. Kaysen in Sri Lanka. So, my nephew died of a fentanyl overdose. He was 29, and I could feel his struggling that he didn't know what had happened. And so, Obi Flett, how are you? So, My daughter is quite intuitive when she wants to be, and I said, we got to go find him. So I found him on a bench in a park. I knew he was found in a park. I didn't know what kind of bench. But when we got there, my two grandfathers and my grandmother, who died while my sister was pregnant with him, were with him. And that was the first time that was the first time I had seen my grandmother since she passed in 1988. And she didn't say anything, and she just smiled. She just smiled.
And were they kind of interacting with each other?
No, they were just staring. They were staring at him.
Yeah. Do you think he knew that they were there?
Yeah, but he didn't know what had happened to him. He didn't know where he was. Pretty fucking surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then he came and said a bunch of different goodbyes, which was really cool. And yeah.
It sounds like kind of a soul retrieval. You know, like going into. Oh, sorry,
that's your phone.
Turn off yeah, I should have turned off the notifications. Yeah, it sounds like a soul retrieval when people go into these astral worlds to find people that might be lost.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty. Pascal says you have a complex field.
Yes, truer words have never been spoken.
Greg O'Brien, how you doing, buddy? Pascal can read anybody.
Cool.
Yeah.
Pascal's a mysterious person.
Pascal he's built like a football offensive lineman. He will shake your hand to let you know how strong he is. But his incredible strength comes from the spirit and the soul. And there are not enough good words to express how awesome Pascal is. Not enough words in the English dictionary or French, because he's bilingual. If you breathe into your heart a few times, you will feel it at the base of your neck and going down the left a little bit.
Okay. I'll try.
We got 40 seconds. Hi, gorgeous Avi May. Oh, my. I'm very sorry to hear that, Avi May. Thoughts and prayers for your family. Goth White, nice to see you. Big thank you to Pascal. Larry C., Larry A., Guillermo, Chad, and Cat Chaser, and Carlito for the super chats. Here we go with hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Let's hit the road. We're going down hour number 2 of the Woo Train tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the Spaced Out Radio's SOR Space Travelers Club. Audacious. Audacious is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Out-of-body experiences. Have you ever gone astral traveling? Ever had an NDE, OBE, WHY? Who knows? Some of us have, some of us haven't. Apparently it's quite a trip, quite the trek, and sometimes, maybe or maybe you're not, you can get back. Our guest, Samantha Lee Treasure, good Canadian girl living over in South Korea, studying this amazing phenomena. Samantha, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Your left shoulder is sitting higher than your right now. Just saying. Anyways, for people who were on the radio side, that during the break, our friend Pascal was probably doing some energetic work on Samantha just to see if she would pick it on up. I think she did. She just doesn't want to admit it right now, though. Totally. Anyway, Samantha, out-of-body experiences. A lot of people who have out-of-body experiences talk about this silver cord that keeps stretching and stretching like silly putty and never, ever breaks. And the more people pull on to it to try and get back in their body, the more the cord stretches. We hear about these freaky stories all the time. What do you know about this silver cord attachment?
There was a study done, a survey, or two surveys done. So one of them, the participants were mainly readers of spiritual magazine. And most of them, I think it was like 70% of them or something, had this silver cord experience. And then there was another survey that was just sort of general population, OBEers, and it was much lower. So some people think that maybe there's an element of what you expect to see in the OBE. But personally, I've never seen it, but like I said earlier, sometimes I feel pulled from my lower back, and it's almost like there's something attached, and it could feel.
The holidays are here, and this year, there's no better way to share the magic of the season than with a festive bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. 1-800-Flowers has holiday bouquets guaranteed to make everyone on your list smile. Right now, you can get 24 holiday light roses for just $39.99. Send a Merry Christmas with 1-800-Flowers. To get 24 holiday light roses for just $39.99, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/tune-in. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/tune-in.
When it comes to learning, your kids' favorites from Paw Patrol and Blue's Clues are Noggin, a learning app designed to help kids build math and literacy skills. Claim a limited time holiday offer of 99 cents a month plus taxes for 3 months at noggin.com/iHeart. $7.99 a month plus taxes until you cancel after free trial ends. Visit noggin.com for terms and conditions.
Like it's a cord or something pulling you. And other people I've spoken to said they tend to be pulled somewhere through, like from here or from their stomach or from the base of their neck. So that's interesting. Like, why is it different for different people? I did see something cord-like once. I had just come back from a week-long OBE retreat, and I was sleeping next to my boyfriend at the time, and I woke up and I was sort of in an OBE state, like just floating just sort of halfway out of my body. And I looked down and I could see these big, like, maybe like that wide of these almost like cartoonish, like translucent cords that were coming from like my here and then my lower abdomen. And then from the same parts of my boyfriend at the time, similar things were coming out, and they were tied in like a cartoonish big bow in the middle. And the colors it was like different colors, different slices of different colors. And that was weird. Like I don't know if that is similar to the astral cord. People talk about having connections with certain people. And I asked a few people who were experts in OBEs, and they had completely different opinions on it. So one person said, "Oh, it's a bad sign because of where it's placed. It's to do with the chakras, and it's like lower energies, and you have an attachment which is maybe not so healthy as if it came from the heart chakra." And then somebody else said, "Oh, it's probably keeping you together because you made the intention to stay together," that sort of thing. So that's interesting how people interpret it differently. And then the legendary Shirley MacLaine, she has a book and a movie called Out on a Limb, and she had an OBE when she was in South America, in which she actually saw her body, and she saw a silver cord as she was coming up. So I think there's something to it.
Is it an attachment to the soul?
I don't know. Maybe, a part of us is always connected to our body as long as we're alive. And it's keeping us connected in some way.
How come this silver cord never seems to break?
I actually heard of one case where it broke. And then the person had a very long OBE, which seemed to be a few hours long. But they were eventually able to go back to their body. But I don't know what would happen if it broke. I mean, I don't know what that would mean, really. Like, if, nobody's really come back to tell the story.
Okay, before we get to audience questions here, starting off with case in Sri Lanka, I want to ask you, do you ever worry about spirits jumping into your body when you're out of body?
If you'd asked me this a few years ago, I would have laughed, but people have told me stories which made me think twice.
Can you share one of those stories?
One of the contactees I spoke with, she said that she went out of body. A lot of the contactees had experiences that were OBEs or very similar. And she saw her 19-year-old son, and he was asleep, and there were two kind of shadow-like figures trying to go into, I think they were like, it looked like they were sucking his soul out and then trying to go in. So that freaked me out. But I had one experience, I had an OBE where I encountered something like this. Most of my OBEs have been really great and positive, but there was a sort of shadow being, and it was trying to get into me, and I used all of my power to try to push it away, and I wasn't strong enough, and it went into me. And I was terrified because I didn't know, what's going to happen. Does that mean I'm possessed or I have attachment? What does that mean? But what happened was that I seemed to just suddenly go into a completely different space, almost like I just unwittingly teleported into a different astral location, and I felt totally safe. But because of these kinds of experiences, I'm not going to kind of whitewash it and say that it's all puppies and kittens, because I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out more. I'm trying to learn more about any possible dangers.
I always hear about these people who have these secondary spirits come in and almost take over their body. I've heard stories of people with the first spirit, where the first spirit didn't want to be reincarnated and wanted to get out, So during some astral travel or out-of-body experiences, there's actually a switch in spirits, and then the person comes back to consciousness, and their attitude and the way they think, the way they deliver themselves is completely opposite of what they were the day before. I mean, it's very interesting. Have you heard of cases like this?
Yeah, that is really interesting. So I met a student here in Korea who's from Tanzania, and he's been writing a book on true ghost stories from people in Tanzania. And he said that there's a kind of folklore there that if this happens, if somebody suddenly, their behavior completely changes, they don't actually really interpret it that way. They think that it's a sorcerer that has created a real physical copy of that person, like a clone, and then they kill the original and that person takes their place. That's how they interpret it. Yeah, it's similar to what you just said. It's similar to the series Behind Her Eyes, which came out recently, I think earlier this year, which is about kind of soul switching, another soul kind of taking the body's, the original person's place. And I don't know, but it kind of reminds me of cases of like the fugue state, and you find sometimes in medical literature of somebody just completely, their behavior changes. They don't seem to have any recollection of their life. They take a different name and then they just walk and walk and walk. They end up in another country, another city, and they work as, a completely different job for a while. And then sometimes, so that some missing cases, it turned out to be like a fugue case. And then sometimes they suddenly wake up with their memories again. So that, some people could interpret it as like a soul switch. But right, I don't know if there's any way to know.
Let's go over to Kaysen here, who is asking, do we unwittingly astral travel when we sleep?
Yeah, I think there's kind of a spectrum of OBEs and astral travel and dreams. So there's some experiences, I've had a lot of experiences where I had my wits about me. I was completely like lucid and completely immersed, but I didn't know if it was a lucid dream or an OBE because I didn't remember the beginning of it. So the transition states between dreams and OBEs are quite different. Like you get the vibrations, the floatiness, or it's just completely like a blackout and then you find yourself somewhere. Whereas with dreams, you go through this sleep cycle and in the beginning, it's like almost like a ghost of a dream. It's not quite an image yet. It's very thought-like, and then they sort of change through time. But in anthropology, there's a lot of sort of papers or books written, and some of the reports, it sounds like an OBE, but they didn't have that sort of terminology. People weren't really aware of that, so they couldn't really distinguish like what is what. And a lot of cultures, they believe that dreams are OBEs, that it is soul travel. That's what dreams are. And then I can tell a personal experience which made me consider that we do unwittingly astral travel when we sleep and we might not remember it. So when I was at this week-long OBE retreat, we were asked to think of a password and not tell anyone, not write it down or anything. And my first thought was I wanted my password to be Snowdrop, because at the time I was taking galantamine for lucid dreaming, and I was really into it. It was great. It would give me OBEs sometimes too, and it came from this snowdrop flower. And then I thought, no, it can't be Snowdrop because there are people here who English isn't their first language and it might be difficult for them to pick up if they do find my password. So I changed it. And then so on this particular night, it was like a haunted mansion in Ireland too, which was like the best possible place to hold an event like this. And I was really freaked out in my room. We all had to share rooms with people. And I had heard footsteps outside of the door in the middle of the night. And when I looked, it was very creaky. Nobody was there. So I was freaked out to sleep upstairs. So I went downstairs. There was one, like the old ballroom, and there were people in sleeping bags sleeping there. So I went and sat next to a friend of mine and slept there. So the next morning, there was one girl. She was really good at having OBEs. She was a fruitarian as well and really mysterious. She used to spend a month or so in the jungles of Thailand every now and then and do these kind of practices that she was very secretive about. But she said that she came downstairs and she saw me sleeping next to my friend. Oh, sorry, not sleeping. We were sitting up talking when she saw us out of body. And she asked me my password. And she said she was from Sweden and she was like, you said something like Snowdr or something. And I was like, phew. And then the girl sitting next to me that I was talking to, she said, you said navel. Your password was navel. So, and the girl I think the girl I was sitting next to had also seen her. She saw a bumblebee, like a kind of cartoonish bumblebee next to the Swedish girl's head. And so then I said, well, my original password was supposed to be Snowdrop. So yeah. And the girl next to me, she said her password was abdominals. So not navel, but abdominals, but same thing. The Swedish girl, her password was something like bee or bumblebee. So that girl seemed to see her password in the form of a cartoon, like a kind of thought form. But I had no recollection of anything that night, not an OBE or a dream. So it was very sort of Inception-like, and it made me think, I guess people can kind of go out of body and get information from people, and they won't have any idea. And I think that's probably why in so many cultures, people are quite cautious about these experiences. But again, if you don't have the experiences, if you're not aware, then how do you know? How can you protect yourself if this is what happens?
All right, well, let's go to another question here. We got about 5.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Samantha Treasure is our guest. Max is asking, so Samantha, are you saying the power of suggestion can carry over into out-of-body experiences?
Yeah, I think that sometimes. I think it's not so much the case as it is with lucid dreams or with dreams. But yeah, I do think that it can have some sort of effect. But it's not like in a lucid dream where you can, try to change the color of the walls or something, and then it's easier to do. With an OBE, it generally tends to be very stable. But the power of suggestion, I would say more like thought forms. So the main idea in psychology and philosophy of mind is that when we have an OBE, we're going into a model, like a snapshot or a cache files of our physical environment. So that can be why it's so stable and so realistic. But there's often like one or two little differences that can tell you that you're not really awake. But I've had experiences and other people have had experiences where you go somewhere, you can go to another country and visit someone that you know, and see what's really happening or what's really there. Just like my brother saw the cherry cheesecake thing. But for me, I had an experience where I saw my mom's apartment and I knew she was moving that week. I didn't know if it was to a house or an apartment or anything. And so how could my mind create that model, that environment model for me to go into if I'd never physically seen it before? So I think that it's probably an amalgam of all of our memories, all of our experiences, if that makes sense. Kind of like a collective consciousness type of thing.
I can totally understand that and see that. I think we got time for one more question here. This one from Larry. Samantha, if you know you're dreaming and you can do things in your dreams, is that an out-of-body experience?
Yeah, that's a very good question. A lot of people would just say, no, that's a lucid dream, but sometimes it's really hard to tell the difference if you haven't started at the beginning where you're going through the transition. So, a dream where you know that you're dreaming is a lucid dream. So generally you're already having the dream and then you realize, it's a dream, and so on. Whereas an OBE normally starts from either a blackout period or you start to feel yourself floating out. You can also have OBEs from dreams though, but there's normally like a transition and things change quite rapidly. But I think there are experiences like within the spectrum where you might be in an OBE. Like I said, sometimes I didn't know if I was in an OBE or a dream. And the question is like, well, does it even matter? And I don't know if it does, but I think a lot of people think it matters because OBEs tend to be seen as more objectively real and as representing something that actually exists in the physical world somehow.
We got 2 minutes here. Let's sneak in another question. This one from the Michael Leger. He is asking, did you ever astral travel, while you're awake?
Sort of, yeah. Some people, mine normally would happen in the middle of the night. I would just wake up and it would be starting to happen. Some people have said that they've had astral travel while running or while driving, but it's not like as scary as it sounds because their body is kind of on autopilot and they're still like, they're not crashing. Personally, so I was kind of automatically having them, and the time that it really freaked me out was that I came home at around 2 in the afternoon. I wasn't tired. I just went to sit on the couch, and as soon as I sat down, I started to get the vibrations. And until that point, it was as soon as I lay down to sleep, I would get the vibrations, and I would normally shake myself out of it. So I was like, whoa, this is going too far. It's this kind of automatic process that's happening every time I just relax. So I think it's definitely possible, and people do report it sometimes.
All right, we got about a minute left. Let's sneak in one more. Armando, there is a sensation of vibration associated with OBEs and abductions. What is this?
That's a really good question. I think that's a question for maybe after if we only have 1 minute left, right?
We can come back to this one.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. It's a really strange.
Now I'm curious to hear your answer. Now you're going to make us wait. That's so teasing. Yeah. So teasing. But you know what? We'll do it. We'll wait. We'll get an interesting answer from our guest tonight, Samantha Lee Treasure. Studies out-of-body experiences, consciousness, and everything in the realm of possibility, the realm of the woo, the realm of getting in touch with your spiritual side so you could have one big party when you realize that there is way more to this life than what we truly understand. Samantha's originally from Ontario, living in South Korea, but she can out-of-body anywhere. Let's all go meet in Vegas. We all need to party. I hear it's good at this time of year. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we're clear. I'm going to quickly run to the bathroom. I will be right back, okay?
Me too.
All right.
That time you got home from a week of double shifts and your dog didn't recognize you.
Scout, hey, it's me. Hey, it's me. Do you want a treat? You want a treat? Oh!
You knew it was time for something new. Let's job it up. At CareerBuilder, you can find jobs with the work-life balance and salary you want. Plus, build a resume and apply to multiple jobs in just one click. Start your search at CareerBuilder.com.
When it comes to learning, your kids' favorites from Paw Patrol and Blue's Clues are Noggin, a learning app designed to help kids build math and literacy skills. Claim a limited time holiday offer of 99 cents a month plus taxes for 3 months at noggin.com/iHeart. $7.99 a month plus taxes until you cancel after free trial ends. Visit noggin.com for terms and conditions.
All right. I am back. Gotta do that. And John Hudson here. Hi, everybody. And where are we? Just so everybody knows, I'm about let's see here. I'm about 14 minutes behind in the chat room right now. So I will get to your questions. Thank you, Anonymous Rex, a.k.a. Tim, for the wonderful super chat. Really appreciate that. Thank you to Fabster, Pascal, Larry C., Chad, Guillermo, Pascal again, Larry A., Carlito, and Cat Chaser for the amazing super chats. It really is a fantastic way to support what we do on this show. Hi, Mr. Catfish. How are you? And who else do we have here? Oh, there are a number of people I recognize. Said hello to all of you. Here we go. Let's do this. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Hello to everyone, wherever you may be. I want to remind you that you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Samantha Lee Treasure. She is someone who is currently studying out-of-body experiences. And we got a great question from our audience member, Armando, who is asking, a sensation of vibration is associated with OBEs and abductions. People experience travel through walls in both. What is the connection?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely the case. So there was a paper by somebody named S.B. Harvey Wilson, which compared people with shamanic experiences and contactee experiences and found this vibrational state or shaking in both. So there's definitely a connection with these phenomena. And a really good friend of mine, Rodrigo Montenegro, is, I think, the only person in the world that's actually researched this state. And I can link to his paper. I'll link to his paper in the chat as soon as we finish. But one of the interesting things is, so he's sort of studying the neurology of out-of-body experiences. And there was one man who was able to very easily have OBEs. So they hooked him up to a EEG machine to see what was happening in the brain when this happens. And they found that in certain parts of the brain, it went up to like 200 hertz. So what that means is normally when we're awake, like right now, our brains might be kind of going at 18 hertz or something. In lucid dreams, it can seem like, I don't know, our minds are expanded and we have all of these kind of superpowers or whatever. And we normally go up to like 40 hertz. So that means 1 hertz is like a message is being carried back and forth between the neurons. So per second. So this is like happening more rapidly, more communication more quickly. Wow. So 200 hertz is completely unheard of. So they actually had to stop the study, and they got a company in Germany to create a custom software, custom machine for them to continue this work. So I don't really understand neurology, but I was asking, like, in epilepsy, they also have this, very, very high brain waves, which can come with this kind of vibrational or shaking. And I was wondering if there was a connection there. And he said it's very complicated to kind of explain. Like, there's so many things to take into account. But I do think it was interesting that for epilepsy, a lot of epileptics have OBEs as well. Even the painting behind me, the bigger painting, is by an American artist called Myron Dial, and he has epilepsy, and he's had a lot of OBEs as well, where he's completely immersed in these other realities. So there seems to be a connection with all of these experiences, and a lot of, shamanism can also be associated with epilepsy. So it's all connected, but I don't think we have an answer of what the vibrational state is. So even the paper that my friend wrote was more theoretical. But it's definitely something that I think is an important key.
All right, let's move on to another question. This one from Zark. What is your opinion on psychedelic drugs?
I've talked to people that have had OBEs on psychedelic drugs, and that's something that I'm really interested in. Personally, I mean, I've tried truffles in Amsterdam, which is the now like a legal version of shrooms, basically the same thing. For me, and people have told me I need to try ayahuasca, but I feel like the OBE or the lucid dream is a kind of cleaner experience. because you have a lack of side effects that go with it, like nausea and that kind of thing. Also, some of the OBEs that I've heard of that take place in psychedelic drugs seem to be a little bit more disturbing or kind of trigger an existential crisis. So one person who had taken Salvia divinorum, and he found himself in this, he had a few OBEs through this, and he found himself in this like cartoon warehouse. And they seem to be like processing personalities, and that felt like the place that you go when you die, which was quite disturbing. But then on the other hand, I think there's benefits to them as well. So like for shrooms, apparently they can create more connections in the brain and help with mental health. But I do think that it depends on the person. So I think for a minority of people, it could trigger a mental health crisis rather than help them.
All right, let's continue on here. Redcap is asking, I slide down my bed as if I'm pulled. Is this an out-of-body experience? When explored, it seems like a dream.
Yeah, that sounds like something that people report a lot in sleep paralysis. But, of course, if you're in sleep paralysis, you're supposed to be kind of like frozen in bed and you can't move and you can't speak. I really think that there is almost like a hybrid experience between sleep paralysis and OBEs. And there was a psychical researcher called Celia Green she wrote a book on OBEs, but she also talked about what she called type 2 false awakenings. And it sounds like this kind of experience. So you are generally in your immediate environment, your sleep environment, and there's something kind of eerie or spooky about it. And it can be, you can maybe experience weird sensations or almost like somebody is there with you, whether you see them or not, or it can be a little bit darker or grainy. And so that's what I think of when I hear experiences like this. It's kind of like the next step between a sleep paralysis and an OB. I think personally, I would consider it more of an OB. So if it happens again, try to remind yourself that it's an out-of-body experience and maybe try to explore your environment.
Arlene is asking, what is the difference between lucid dreams and vivid dreams?
That's a really good question. And there's been a lot of debate about the term lucid dreams, because you could say it's like a volitional dream. So a lucid dream is when you know that it's a dream. But oftentimes you have a vivid dream. You kind of have the sense, like you have an inner knowing that it's a dream, but you don't make the mental connection of it being a dream, if that makes sense. So there's like a spectrum of lucidity or awareness that it's a dream. Just like when we're not constantly thinking, oh, I'm awake. We kind of go on autopilot, but in the back of our minds, we know that we're awake, as we go about our day. And then there's sort of volitional lucid dreams, or volitional dreams would mean that you're aware that it's a dream and you are taking action. So you're engaging with the dream as if it is really a dream with your waking mind, your waking life, your waking self also in mind, and your waking motivations in mind often. And I mean, vivid dreams or like big dreams, it can feel like something is really happening to you. Some vivid dreams might be OBEs. I don't know, like there's so much debate about these terms. I think it needs to be explored a lot more.
What are we missing in regards to the consciousness aspect and connection to OBEs?
Personally, what I'm waiting for is there's at least one company in Japan who are developing this technology to record people's dreams so that other people can watch them on a screen, right? So I'm assuming that would also work for OBEs. And I think once people, there's all of these anecdotal reports about people seeing something that's actually happening, or, these telepathic or precognitive experiences that they have in dreams and OBEs. And I think once you have like physical evidence that scientists will actually look at, that will actually convince people, maybe people will start to take it more seriously and start to ask the questions. Because I think now you have two camps. You have people who are completely unmaterialist, and they're going down the rabbit hole, but maybe not tethered to like a more consensual physical reality, and they might kind of get caught up in different beliefs. And once you get caught up in different beliefs, those kind of superimpose into your experience, and then you don't know like what's real or what's not. And they're not really willing to look at the models that psychologists are looking at, or neurology studies or anything like that. But then you look at other people who are, studying OBEs and similar phenomena, and they're not talking about these psychic experiences people have. Like, honestly, almost everybody that I speak to has had one of these experiences. It's really amazing, but they don't want to talk about it. So I think that needs to be bridged. But so the technology might be a bridge.
All right, let's move on here. Chrismo in Austria is asking, is the sensation of dropping out and falling back into the body a hint for out-of-body experience?
Yeah, possibly. They're called, I think so. They're called myclonic jerks, and they are generally just thought to be like just us like waking up. But I think it could be related to OBEs, because one of the things about OBEs is that you, in different states, like as you're going to sleep or as you're going into meditation, or even if you get into an accident, there's certain parts of you that can sort of switch off or go on sort of a mute. And so this could be that you are becoming less aware of your physical body, and then something happens to bring you back in your body, and I don't know. It's because the question is too, it's like you get the sensations of motion in the OBE, almost like you're going through the sky and you can feel the wind, you get those sensations of movement. But are you really moving? Because sometimes OBEs end and it feels like you just open your eyes simply, like it's even sort of more abrupt than awakening from a dream.
All right, let's go over to Kevin here on Facebook, who's asking, if you think about something a lot, does it have a tendency to manifest into reality somehow? And if so, do you actively practice doing it?
I'm not sure if they mean manifest into reality as into the OBE reality or not. I'm going to just go with OBE because that's what we're talking about. Because the other, if it's waking reality, that's like a whole other show. But yeah, this kind of brings us to this really interesting trend that's been happening for the past year or two called shifting. And there's these millions of teenagers on TikTok and Instagram, on YouTube, talking about shifting, which sounds like a little bit like astral projection, a little bit like a lucid dream. I think it's a different kind of biological, cultural mode of consciousness that this generation is creating. And what they're trying to do is use altered states to immerse themselves into the Harry Potter universe or other, favorite fictional realms. And some people say that they've actually been able to do this. I actually tried. I tried this. I tried doing the shifting techniques every day to see what would happen. I thought about one of my favorite shows, which was Erie, Indiana. And every night there was something similar to it. Like I would see one of the actors, but they would be really aloof. Or, the next day I would see somebody in the same uniform, but it would be a different person. And then every day it seemed to be getting closer to being immersed in that sort of TV world. But this has really taken off, especially, in the past year, like being kind of isolated. And even before then, really, like, people, their comfort characters on TV are becoming kind of more important to them. They're helping us get through things. And so people want to break through the limits of the screen and actually experience them more authentically. So I don't know. I mean, some people say it can be dangerous because it could maybe it's not good for people whose brains haven't fully developed to be in these dissociative states. But some of the people I spoke to that do the practice say that it's really helped to heal, especially people that can't afford therapy, which is like almost everyone these days. So yeah, I do think that's kind of a roundabout way of saying yes. I do think that you can.
Well, let me tell you about.
It seems like it.
Let me tell you about Kevin. Kevin's name is Kevin Day, and he was the head radar operator on the USS Princeton in 2004 for the now famous USS Nimitz Tic Tac UFOs.
Oh, right. Yeah. I've heard of the Tic Tac UFOs.
Yes. He was the man who called in the jet fighters on these Tic Tac craft. So now he's just trying to figure out what's going on with him. Kevin, we got to get you back on the show one day here soon. We really do. And,
I'd like to hear about that.
Oh, it's a fascinating story. Fascinating story. All right, our good friend Eugene here is asking, can you tell us about lapses in consciousness?
I can just say that they happen. So a lot of my OBEs have started with lapses in consciousness. So like my first one.
It's no longer just about making $1 out of 15 cents. It's about investing in our community's growth. And with Meta Elevate, we're growing our businesses with free workshops, one-on-one support, and digital training. When looking to earn money from your videos, join Meta Elevate, a learning platform that elevates our ability to empower our community and help close the inequality gap. So together, we can all reach new heights. Click the banner to start now. On the rise together.
When it comes to learning, your kids' favorites from Paw Patrol and Blue's Clues are Noggin, a learning app designed to help kids build math and literacy skills. Claim a limited time holiday offer of 99 cents a month plus taxes for 3 months at noggin.com/iHeart. $7.99 a month plus taxes until you cancel after free trial ends. Visit noggin.com for terms and conditions.
Where I fell asleep, and the next thing I knew, I didn't have any feeling of having had a dream or anything like that. It was just blackness, lapse in consciousness. And then I'm downstairs completely awake and wandering around, feeling like something was a little bit off, but not being able to put my finger on it. And I actually went into my flatmate's room to wake him up because I was sort of freaking out, like, what's going on? Something weird's going on. And there were 3 men in his room. And that made me kind of freak out, and I ended up suddenly in my body in bed, wondering what had happened. And then again, Celia Green, when she wrote a book on OBEs, I think it was most or a big percentage of her interlocutors, how they said that this is what happened to them. Suddenly, it seemed like there was a short lapse in consciousness, and then they were in another part of their room or another part of the house. So I don't know what that is. It's definitely a mystery.
Brazelhoff is asking, have you ever tried moving a physical object while astral projecting?
Yes, that's like one of my favorite things to do in astral projection. I always try to be like a poltergeist when I'm out of body to see if I can move something, or if I see someone, try to poke them or try to kind of exert some sort of physical change. And it's never worked for me so far. I'm not going to give up yet.
I'd love to try that. Follow-up question. I apologize. Here we go. Another question. Armando, have you ever astral traveled to other planets or universes?
Yeah. I guess so. So the future Tokyo ones, some of them, I would seem to be going through a wormhole and then onto this planet, which seemed to be colonized by humans, and then talk to the people there who were, again, like just sort of normal humans. And one of them was telling me about they almost didn't make it through the wormhole because of the engine, and she was really excited about the engine, the science behind the engine. It was just really, really weird. That was one of my favorite OBEs because it was so vivid, and it was really like a wormhole, like from the movies where you see it, sort of this translucent wormhole. And then as I got to the end of it, there were 3 planets, and I think one of them was bluish, one of them was pinkish, and one of them was sort of yellowish. But they all looked like desert planets with these really deep grooves in the surface, or like continents that were like really high up, like risen above the lower part. And then the one that I went to was the pinkish one. But can I just say, yeah. I wanted to know what I was getting myself into. So I watched a couple of your shows, and I watched this show the other day with Andrea Perrin, and I love that you asked her about UFOs, because again, I think there's a lot of overlap with these experiences, but it was so interesting. I know she didn't go into too much detail about her experiences, but it kind of sounded like it could have been an OBE, and she mentioned that she'd seen blue people. I have a friend who is an avid OBEer who's also gone and seen blue people. And also, I met an astrophysics professor in the UK at this Society for Psychical Research conference. And he knew that I was into OBEs, and he was like, I always thought that if alien intelligence were going to contact us, they would do that through OBEs or through some kind of altered states, because it would be a lot more economical than traveling around physically. There's so much that can go wrong with a metal ship.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Have you ever been injured while astral traveling?
No. I don't think so, no.
Oh, we'll have you back when you do.
Yes, I'll tell you all about it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, tonight is so interesting. We could go in so many different angles with you tonight. Mr. Catfish, we got about 45 seconds. Wondering, does anyone wake up and fall into the bed in the middle of the night?
I would assume maybe this Mr. Catfish is maybe finds themselves in an OBE floating above their bed and then suddenly falls down.
I think you were taken.
Yeah, I think
you were taken and dropped. I think you were taken and dropped. That's what I think's going on. All right, Samantha, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We're through 2 hours of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We got another half an hour with the lovely and talented Samantha Lee Treasure. We're talking OBEs, out-of-body experiences, all night long. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, the fedora-wearing John Hudson returns for another edition of the Unbiased UFO Report. As well, we have Shirky Poo's news. An exciting final hour of Spaced Out Radio coming up next. One sec here. Chris Mo, that is a hilarious comment. I'm actually taking a picture of it Oh, that's me. That's ugly as sin. I'm taking a picture of it and sending it to Merle. That's awesome. Awesome. One night I was abducted, and it started off as a dream. And in my dream, I was talking on my phone to my buddy in North Carolina, and I was kind of looking. I knew it was a dream because it happened in February, where we got it's the coldest month of the year here in February. And in my dream, I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. There was no snow, and it was a spring day, and I see this UFO coming from the east, coming north towards my property, like behind my property. And I remember in my dream saying on my phone to my buddy, I gotta go. They're here to take me, and I don't want to go today, so I better go inside. And so as I'm walking on my driveway to go underneath my carport to my door, I'm actually, as I take steps, going up in the air towards the craft. Now, all of a sudden, I'm face to face with my patio and then my roof, and I kept on yelling, I told you guys I didn't want to go today. I told you guys I didn't want to go. Next thing I remember, I'm dropped from about 3 feet in my bed, or above my bed, into my bed. And I fell so hard, my arm went smack on my partner, and she woke up and she's like, "What the hell did you hit me for?" I'm like, "I just got back."
So did that seem like a lapse in consciousness between going up the invisible stairs?
I don't have any recollection of being up there.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is I was wide awake, about 3 feet off my bed, falling backwards into my bed. It's kind of cool.
That's cool. It's a mystery.
Yeah. I was injured astral traveling, too.
You were injured, yeah. You sound like you almost injured your partner astral traveling.
No, this one I was actually channeling for a young lady named Samantha Mowat. And I ended up, she wanted to see if I could get to the Pleiades into Lyra. And I got there and saw this beautiful aquamarine teal type of building that every window, and this building was 5-10 miles high. And it was just gorgeous. And everything was gold trim. And when they, all of a sudden, you'll understand when I say this, when they zoomed me back, it was like Star Trek, where all of a sudden you go through that warp tunnel where all the stars all of a sudden become that warp tunnel. And I was actually experiencing the G-forces along with that. And my neck started to stretch. And when all of a sudden we came back here and I got back into my body, I kind of lunged forward and back, and I started coughing, and I ended up bruising my entire chest area here to the point it hurt so bad that 2 days later I actually went to the emergency because I thought I was having a heart attack. And that's where my family doctor happened to be working in emergency that day. And he was like, "Dude, your chest is all bruised. What happened?" I said, "Doc, you're not gonna you're not gonna believe me if I tell you." I said, "You know I'm into the weird stuff. You're not gonna believe me." And he's like, "No." He's like, "Give me a try." And I told him the story, and he's like, "You're right. I don't believe you." I'm like, "Thank you." So I told you.
No.
Yeah, bruised my entire I couldn't speak. I was coughing all the time, and it was brutal.
That's amazing. It's really fascinating how these experiences, which seem to be completely unrelated to the body, you're not really your physical body, you're not interacting with that space, but it can still seem to affect it. Yeah.
Thank you, Redcap, for the awesome super chat. All the way from the UK. I appreciate that. And let's see who else is here. Oh, Dirty Filth is still here. Phil Minervino, welcome. I'm going to try and get caught up here. And let's see who else has arrived. Got a lot of you. Pascal, thank you again for a super chat. And let's see here. We've got about a minute. And thank you, Pascal, for a number of super chats tonight. Thank you also to Fapster, to Rex, Larry A., Redcap, Pascal again, Larry C., Larry A., Pascal, Chad, Carlito, Guillermo, and Cat Chaser for the super chats. Here we go. We got like 10 seconds. Oh, that's just until we load it. Hold on.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everybody listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Audacious. Audacious is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we have Samantha Lee Treasure. She has been studying OBEs. She is taking her education to try and figure out and write theses on this amazing subject. We're going to continue with audience questions here for Samantha, and we're going to start off with Max, who is asking, Samantha, are there any connections to low oxygen or low blood glucose?
Yes. I'm not sure about low blood glucose. I have to look into that. So I've never heard of that, but it could be. I think there's connections with a lot of things. Definitely low oxygen. And I think that sometimes low oxygen can create altered states, whether that's an OBE or something a bit more subtle, like the feeling of a presence or some kind of paranormal activity going on, seeing a spirit or that kind of thing. And low blood pressure. Low blood pressure is connected to OBEs. The people that have low blood pressure tend to be more able to have OBEs. I think it's probably, again, maybe to do with if there's a lot going on in the body, like your blood is, bubbling and it's lots of oxygen coming in, everything, lots of stuff going on. You're getting a lot of feedback for your brain to kind of translate. And when you kind of quieten down is when it's easier to have an OB. But the low oxygen can also have effects on the brain and create an altered state.
Okay. Let's get over to Kaysen. What is your opinion on these binaural Beats products which promise you astral travel?
That's something I looked into over the summer because I was thinking about creating my own sort of binaural beats. There's something called the Museum of Consciousness, which started last year at Burning Man, and then this year they're doing it at Oxford University. And there's different people who are involved in consciousness research, and they create like a 2-minute or a 10-minute sound clip to put you in an OBE. So right now I'm trying to develop something kind of based on my gangster rap experience when I was a teenager, inspired by that. But I was talking to somebody who researched binaural beats scientifically in his university, and he said that there's not really that much science behind it. So the study that they did was a very small sample, but it did seem like there might be some effects. It might cause some kind of effects, but he just said like there really isn't the science to back it up. But if you try it and it works, then I think it makes sense that it could work.
What do you want to figure out about out-of-body experiences? Is it the mental aspect of how they happen? Is it why they happen? Is it a combination?
I think all of it is interesting, but the question that keeps cropping up with me is, how do you tell the difference between what is imaginary, like dream content, or your imagination, and what is real, like what is representing something that's actually out there that can be shared with other people or other beings? And I think, again, like your thought forms can be shared with other people in the OBE space. But especially when you meet figures in the OBE state, how do you know the difference? So I gave a talk at my uni about lucid dreams and OBEs, and afterwards, one of the researchers from the archaeology department, she came to me and she was like, "You should be really careful talking about OBEs because, I think she was aware of how commercialized it's becoming, and I'm not about that at all. Like, I've never charged anything. I don't teach it, and I don't charge to give talks on it or anything. But I think she was felt a bit like annoyed by it. And she said that when she was doing field work with Indigenous people in West Australia, they made it very difficult to have OBEs. And that was because they had to go through 2 difficult and painful initiations, because it's difficult to tell the difference between something that's in your mind and something that's real, and that there could be dangers in that. So that's I don't know how to tell the difference. So one of the things I'm writing a book right now about supernatural experiences, including OBEs, that involve kind of non-standard experiences, like having an OBE and seeing a cartoon figure. And people don't actually immediately think that means it's a part of the imagination. They could think it's a shapeshifter, it's a spirit shapeshifting. They could think that it's a tulpa or a thought form as well. And some people think that there are, like, whatever people imagine, so even cartoons, it's coming from the ether. So it actually exists out there. So there's all these different interpretations of these experiences. So that's what I want to figure out. Like, is there actually a way to know where these figures come from?
All right, let's continue on. Black Dragon, one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show, asks, do you know of the stories of the Blue Children? They were brother and sister.
I heard a story. I don't know if this is the one at the Dracula Caves in the UK. I don't remember if they were green children or blue children, but it was like, I think in the 1300s, where these children just appeared out of the cave and they were speaking a different language, and I think their dietary habits were different. And I think that story kind of was passed down generation after generation. That's the only kind of similar thing that I've heard about that.
All right, let's move on here. TMI is asking, have you ever opened a wrong door or gone into a wrong place while astral?
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Yes, I had a really weird experience with this. So I had an OBE that started like the classic kind of OBE. So I rose out of my body. I started going feet first into the wall, and then I just stopped when I was halfway through. And I thought, okay, here we go. This is the end of the experience, But instead, I kind of like phased out and then was suddenly in this other environment with these weird sort of sandstone apartment buildings and canals like Venice. And then I found myself...
When traders tell us how to make Thinkorswim even better, we listen. They asked for a version they could access anywhere, no download necessary. We heard them. And when they asked to execute a preset trade strategy in seconds, we said absolutely. Feedback like this inspired us to build Thinkorswim Web, and it continues to push us. So our entire suite of platforms never stops getting better. Because platforms this innovative aren't just made for traders, they're made by them. Thinkorswim Trading from TD Ameritrade.
Brought to you by Noggin. Need a little extra help building your child's math and reading skills? Their favorite characters from Nick Jr. shows like Paw Patrol, Bubble Guppies, Blue's Clues, and Blaze are here to help.
Let's get to work!
And they're in Noggin, the smart and fun learning app, where activities are designed to grow the skills your child needs to succeed in school and in life. Fabulous! What's even more fabulous is that you can claim a limited time holiday offer of 99 cents a month plus taxes for 3 months by visiting noggin.com/iHeart. Start your free trial today. $7.99 a month plus taxes until you cancel after free trial ends. Visit noggin.com for terms and conditions.
In one of the lofts, and I was walking around this huge apartment, no furniture, no people, and I was walking around calling out for someone. A lot of OBEs, there's nobody around. So I'm calling out for somebody. And this small man who's maybe two or 3 feet high, wearing a kind of just normal clothes, he's walking towards me. And because it's such a big apartment, it takes ages for him to walk towards me. And he's very cross with me, and he goes, "You have to be very careful where you travel to when you're going," I think he said when you're going between the gaps or when you're going into the gaps. And yeah, it was weird. I don't know. It was bizarre. Like the whole environment looked like something that hadn't been built yet.
It
was like a website or something that hadn't been finished yet, offline. I'm not supposed to be there.
All right. Phil is wondering, my wife has MS and has lucid dreams nightly. Being a neurological disease, have you heard of more frequency of lucid dreams with multiple sclerosis patients?
Not lucid dreams. I've heard of it being more frequent, of sleep paralysis being more frequent with multiple sclerosis. So lucid dreams is definitely a lot more pleasant than that. And hopefully it's lucid dreams are a nice respite for her from the illness.
That would be nice. I recently heard a statistic that there are certain types of dreams that people with handicap cannot experience. Like a blind person could not experience something along the lines of, it was just said the other night on the show, and now my mind's gone blank. Cannot experience...
Like vision in a dream, or?
No, they could see in a dream, but... I totally blanked out on that. I apologize. It'll come to me.
Write it in the chat if you remember.
Yeah, it'll come to me. But let's move on here. Kaysen is asking, do you research, do you energy heal and things like that too?
It's something that I want to look into in the future, for sure. But it's not something that I've really looked into too much yet. I think it's really interesting that.
Do you believe then that with out-of-body experiences, that is it healthy to do? Is it something you would encourage people to do?
The question is, I don't know yet, because like I said, I wouldn't give up my experiences for anything. But I know, like, for lucid dreaming, it's good, healthy for most people, but there's a percentage where it's just not. It kind of if they have delusions, if they strengthen, like for people with schizophrenia, it's not good. For people who experience psychosis, apparently it's not good. I don't know about OBEs because it hasn't really been researched, but I do know that in a lot of cultures, they say to be careful with it. And regardless of whether what you're seeing is from the imagination or not, I think that like things in your imagination can harm you in some way, right? They can kind of reprogram your brain. So I think it's something to be careful with. And unfortunately, there's more and more people who are creating like OBE workshops and charging an arm and a leg for them. And they're very biased and they're saying, oh, there's no problem at all. I asked one of these people, because thinking that maybe they know something that I don't, that there is no problem. Aren't you ever worried about it harming somebody that you're teaching hundreds of people? And they said, oh, I just get them to sign a disclaimer or a waiver so that if anything happens, they can't sue me. So they're protecting themselves, but not all these people. And this seems to be, so I think anyone who says absolutely OBEs are completely healthy, I wouldn't really believe them because we just don't know. And I taught workshops back in 2013 on OBEs and lucid dreams, and I stopped because I had my doubts from my experiences and from what people were telling me. So, don't know. I think for most people it is, and like I said, it could be sort of seen as something very natural to us if our soul is eternal. So yeah, I mean, I'm still here.
Let's go to John. Samantha, you are truly amazing. I'm very interested in sleep paralysis and its connections to non-human reality. I follow you on Twitter now. Sent you a message on your website. There's a lot to talk about regarding this.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading your message.
Me too, even though he won't send it to me. Thanks, John. Leave me out of it. I'll just bring the questions in. Anyways, I do want to ask you, as we only got about 8 minutes left with you in a show that's flown on by, what is your goals for your research coming up? What is something that you're trying to figure out that could be tied to out-of-body experiences? In the next year, so I have to do my master's dissertation next year, and I'm thinking it has to be something on OBEs, but I'm not sure if it's going to be something to do with Korean shamanism, since I'm here. Even though Korean shamanism is more to do with possession than OBE states, in every culture you'll find people that have OBEs. Or if I want to look at something in terms of some sort of medical condition in relation to OBEs. So I've talked to people that have Charles Bonnet syndrome, when their eye starts to go and they start to see really interesting visions juxtaposed into their physical world. And a lot of those people have had OBEs too. So that's really interesting, or people with synesthesia or like schizophrenia and OBEs. So I'm trying to decide on what exactly to like focus on in the next year, because there's so many different angles. When you say angles, what do you mean by that? Define that for me.
Oh yeah, I guess maybe not angles, but there's so many aspects of the OBE to focus in on. So if people with a medical condition if their reports of OBEs are slightly different, that's really interesting. Then I wonder why that is.
Okay. So as you were conducting these studies, have you ever run across any cases where someone goes on an out-of-body experience but cannot get back into their body?
Kind of, yes. Actually, my stepmother, she had 3 OBEs, one in a KFC and one in a McDonald's, where she passed out. And she could see, it was like an NDE. She could see everything that was going on and hear everything, and it was all correct. Then she had an OBE where she was at home, and she saw my sister come in from work, but my sister couldn't hear or see her, which is very common in OBEs. And then she went into the bathroom, and there was a kind of a figure. She didn't want to describe it to me, but she said it was like not good. And she felt herself go up and down, from the ceiling to the floor. And she was trying really hard to get into her body. And she managed to kind of escape and go into her bedroom. And she said it was a little bit tricky to get in her body, but she was able to. And I've come across similar accounts online as well. But this is the thing. It's like, well, obviously the people that we hear from, they have managed to come back. So I don't know, like, if somebody hasn't managed to come back, they're obviously not here to talk about it. Wow. I mean, that sounds really sinister, but I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I have never had an experience where I found it difficult to get in my body, but yeah, some people experience it.
Have you ever had a situation where you've gone into an astral travel or out-of-body experience, but your spirit guides have brought you back or not allowed you to go that day?
I've heard other people have told me those cases where they've been led back to their body, or they've been trying to go out and it's almost like a gatekeeper. They're not allowed to. It's similar to DMT reports too. Some of them, there's like kind of gatekeepers. I have seen what felt like a guide who was trying to help me out of my OB. And I've heard a lot of those stories as well.
That is just creepy. Could you imagine that happening? Like all of a sudden, like you're about to go off on an astral travel, and all of a sudden your spirit guides are like, "Yeah, you can't do that. It's dangerous today." I want to go now. I want to go now. You know. Let's get to Kaysen. Have you ever experienced the light tunnel that NDEs or near-death experiences often have?
I think the closest I came to that was that wormhole experience where I was in an OBE and I seemed to be in space. I've had a couple of those actually where I seem to be in space and I'm going through. One of them was like, I think it was green and it was kind of translucent and weird wormhole. And then the other one, the tunnel, I was going backwards, which I normally do. And there were these mirrors at an angle like this, just kind of floating in space, and I was going through that, and I couldn't see my reflection or anything. I could just see that they were mirrors. And then the only other time I've felt like I was going through a tunnel is when I think it was the first time I took truffles in Amsterdam, and I was sitting in a cafe and I was like, "Oh, this stuff isn't working." And 20 minutes later, it was like wham, and I felt like I was going backwards in a tunnel really, really fast. And then when that feeling stopped, I was in my trip.
Wow. All right, let's get to owner here. This will be our final question of the night. Can you encounter a person who is recently deceased during your astral travel?
Yeah, I think like my friend's experience, I mentioned earlier in the show when she met her sister. And somebody that I interviewed for my dissertation said he saw a man on his couch and he recognized him as his sister's best friend's dad who had recently passed away. And he seemed like he didn't really know that my friend was there. Like he didn't really know what was going on. And so he felt intuitively that he needed to like put his hand on his forehead and just sort of project the feeling that everything is going to be okay. And then he was later told that in the final days before he died in the hospital, that is how he was acting, like he was looking around and he didn't really know what was going on.
My friend, Samantha, what a show for your debut on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Very impressive. You're brilliant and you're very logical in your thinking and the way you describe everything. Thank you so much for talking about this deep subject with our audience tonight.
Well, thank you. It was very fun.
I think so too. Very, very fun. And do me a favor, we got 30 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media to give you a follow.
Sure. So my website is zombiesinpjs.com, and my Instagram is also zombiesinpjs, as is my Twitter, but I don't really use Twitter that much. But yeah, I'd be interested in hearing about anyone's experiences that they want to share as well.
That is fantastic. Fantastic. My friend Samantha, all the way in South Korea, via the beautiful province of Ontario. We appreciate you on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to do this again soon. Coming up next, the fedora-wearing John Hudson gives us the big UFO report coming up. Then we got Shirky Poo's news. Final half hour of Spaced Out Radio next. That's a great show. Give you a number of claps.
Thank you. That was so fun.
That was fun. That was totally fun. I like you.
Yeah.
You're kind of cool.
I like you too, Dave. Yeah, well, if you ever want to talk again about this subject, I had some notes and we didn't even get through half of it.
Whenever. I will get our lovely and talented Dirty Filth to get you a new date for springtime.
Awesome.
Look forward to it.
Oh, thank you so much, Dave. It was really nice talking to you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Stay warm.
Yeah, it's only minus 10 right now. It warmed up.
Oh my gosh. Oh, better. Good.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. The high tomorrow is minus 4. So,
okay. Yeah, it's improving.
Yeah, minus 4, low of 13. Sunday we get a minus 10, a high, and a low of minus 21. And Monday is a high of minus 13 and a low of minus 22. For our American friends, that would be 8 Fahrenheit at minus 22. So, there you go.
Oh my gosh. Well, keep toasty.
Always.
Thank you.
You take care, my friend.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye. I love her. She is awesome. Dirty Filth, I know you're still listening. Rebook her for April or early May, if you don't mind. That'd be wonderful. Hey, Gong Show, what's happening? The Gong Show is back. Brazelhoff, it was over 100 here this summer. I can handle that. There he is, everyone. Look at this piece of manly specimen. Right there. That is the fedora-wearing John Hudson. Yeah, we're about to get some snow here again, Sandra. Bim Jim, how you doing, buddy? What's happening? Jiff. There he is. Oh my God!
Man,
if it was
that guest tonight,
she was amazing. Fantastic teeth too.
I was just that was just dead in the exact place where my research is right now, and I was just glued to it, and it basically destroyed my evening. Thank you very much.
33 degrees in California right now. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, I got 2 space heaters.
You guys are hilarious. You guys are
good for you, man.
Hilarious.
Yeah, right. Well, right now it's 40, but it's supposed to get down to 37 tonight.
Oh my God! That's John. How are you going to survive hoodie weather?
I'll just tell you, it's a damn good thing I finally got insulation installed, or else, my life could be in jeopardy.
That's not even winter coat weather. You will rebuild, buddy. You will rebuild. Hold on. Where's Grant here? Grant, where are you here? I'm looking for you in the chat room here. I missed your comment. Yeah, he's in Quesnel. 2 hours early. Hey, Merle! You missed it, buddy. Everybody was merling you when you weren't even here. People need their Merle fix. Like Kiss sang, Merle it up, Merle it up. Oh, Merle it up, Merle it up. Whoa, whoa. There you go. YouTube University. New member here. I'm so spaced out after today. I can't wait to get a gold medal one day. Right on. Right on. Appreciate you coming on in. I prefer the cold over hot. My favorite temperature is 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 23 Celsius.
Yeah, I think like 75. 75 is pretty much perfect.
Hi, Mike L.
If I can wear like blue jeans, a t-shirt, and no shoes, oh, that's paradise.
Oh, you're a weirdo. Here we go.
Hey, dude, at my wedding, my wife and none of her wedding party wore shoes.
Here we go. Hold on. We rounded third. We're heading for home here on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time once again where we get all UFO-y with the man, the myth, and the UFO legend, the fedora-wearing John Hudson. Yes, the fedora-wearing John Hudson comes in to give us a breakdown of everything that is happening in the UFO world as we continue on to ask, who, what, where, when, why, and how. It's been a busy week this week, Fedora.
Yeah, man.
Hi. Welcome to your neighborhood pharmacy.
Hi, I've got a prescription for diabetes test strips. How much is the copay?
Well, it depends on your type of commercial insurance and factoring in your yearly spend, subtracting the deductibles, also depending on your monthly allowance.
Why can't there be a better option?
Or you could try Contour Next test strips. A 35 count's only $19.99 over the counter and proven to be highly accurate. Go to contournext.com/radio to see if over-the-counter strips are a more affordable option for you.
I think I'll try Contour Next.
Brought to you by Noggin. Need a little extra help building your child's math and reading skills? Their favorite characters from Nick Jr. shows like Paw Patrol, Bubble Guppies, Blue's Clues, and Blaze are here to help.
Let's get to work!
And they're in Noggin, the smart and fun learning app, where activities are designed to grow the skills your child needs to succeed in school and in life.
Fabulous!
What's even more fabulous is that you can claim a limited time holiday offer of 99 cents a month plus taxes for 3 months by visiting noggin.com/iHeart. Start your free trial today. $7.99 a month plus taxes until you cancel after free trial ends. Visit noggin.com for terms and conditions.
Got to admit, honestly, the problem I had today was that I got so overwhelmed by this one guest that I didn't have time to I got sucked into it so bad. That guest just blew me away. So I'm a little shallow on topics tonight. But luckily, it was a crazy week, so it shouldn't be any kind of problem at all because there's so much nutty stuff going on. But you know, one of the things I wanted to draw some attention to was I don't know how many of you are familiar. We've talked before about Christopher Sharp. He's an editor for the Liberation Times, and like he's done some writing, and he basically came out with another article, and he's getting a lot of really good feedback on it. He's getting a lot of really good dialogue on it. And what I want to point out is that, you know, this is someone who wasn't doing a whole lot of writing before, has basically come out now with 2 articles in the past couple months. Both have actually made quite an impact. But here's the thing. They're starting conversations, and they're getting us to all have debates about things that we're not having debates about without these articles being written. So just because you don't think someone's going to read it doesn't mean you shouldn't write it. Please, if you have thoughts in your head, get it out onto something, get it out onto media in some way, because if you read what he wrote, it's very thoughtful, and he does a really good job of bringing in a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different angles, and giving what I would consider to be a more more honest kind of a look at it than I think you get from a lot of other parties. But we need more and more people like Christopher, basically, stepping out and doing some writing.
There's a lot of people trying to figure out the stories, and yet, the crew of Luis Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and everybody has really gone quiet as of right now. Do you think that they are trying to prepare their next move for what they are going to be doing within the UFO field?
Honestly, if you'd asked me that a year ago, I would scoff. I would say no. It's never that planned. It's never that orchestrated. It's probably a bunch of coincidences and just this and that. But I have to admit, when Elizondo made that comment a couple months ago about the fact that he and some others had intentionally slowed down the delivery of information because they saw it as a benefit to the way it was all being consumed, that really caught me off guard. I have to admit, I really didn't expect anything that quite engineered to be going on from their perspective, and so if that's how they're playing ball, then yeah, yeah. It's very frustrating, though. It's very, 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 very frustrating. But I will say that I think that there's probably multiple reasons why they're staying quiet. But my concern is that it still has something to do with the way they're trying to throttle information. And the problem is we don't know how many people are involved in that throttling, right? We have no idea how, is it sort of thing where, it's only, Elizondo and Chris Mellon and say, 3 other people that are involved in this curtailing of information, and everyone else still runs roughshod? Or are there actually individuals that have enough influence that they can actually reach out to 10, 15, 20 different people and suggest that things get slowed down for some reason?
I don't know. I think what happens here, John, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think once the president signs the bill and it is official, then I hope we're going to get some major questions answered or asked by the mainstream media. I think this is the calm before the storm on what's going to happen with the media. Great that UFOs are in there. People have picked it up. People have kind of alluded to it. But a lot of the reporters, I don't think, have really read into it the fact that there is not going to be any outside public support for these UFO reports. We're not going to be getting anything and everything the way it was built up by many in the UFO field. There are a lot of holes to poke in this NDAA.
Oh yeah. No, that's the thing that's so bloody frustrating is that we were so far away from where we need to be. We were so far away on so many different levels. that we can make these huge leaps. I mean, because let's face it, this bill is a huge leap. I mean, it really is. I mean, it has a lot of really, really good stuff in it. But you're dead on. It still leaves a ton of gaps, and it leaves a lot of wanting for sure, right? Because let's face it, some of those holes, can be, happenstance, but they can also be places where people drive, trucks through them and are able to get around all sorts of policy and so forth. And, I think a lot of this is going to depend, sadly, on what type of budget it gets, right? Like how much money we're really talking about. The more money, the better.
Well,
the more money involved, the more people pay attention.
Bob McGuire was saying on social media the other day, and I don't know how true this is, but the numbers that he is hearing is $1 billion.
So that's interesting. So that okay, so that is probably what I would consider to be basement what they need. And that is enough to attract a fair amount of attention, but it's not enough to, you really got to get into that 10 billion and up mark to really, attract a lot of the sharks sort of thing. Right. So, $1 billion that will fund them for a while. They could do a lot of good with that. A lot of good.
I think they can too.
Wow.
I think they can too. It's just a matter of, they got to have some setup money, which is obvious what they are going to be doing. They need setup money.
Because imagine, and you got a hint of this with Kellier and some of these guys talking about different approaches they took. But if you were to put the right group of scientists on one of these projects, and you were to really take the handcuffs off, and you were to say, look, like Jurassic Park, we spared no expense, just go nuts, right? Just instrument whatever you want, however deep you want, log whatever you want, like just go nuts. Man, I think there's a couple things we could nail down real fast. I think there's a couple things we could knock down real fast. And some of it's stuff that doesn't take a scientist to figure out. I think this whole Fitbit thing is a big deal. I really do. I really do. I really think this whole Fitbit thing is a big deal. I think it's basically if there's like a UFO security guy, like he should be fired, because the fact that they're actually letting people onto these vessels with Fitbits, if that's really what's happening, that's a huge security issue, and that's hardcore data. I mean that's the kind of data we need, and that's the kind of data that's really going to me. That kind of Fitbit data, you start correlating that with phone data, and that to me seems like it could be as big of a deal as for example the Navy videos are, because now you have that same relationship of experience to data point, but for normal people that you did then for pilots and radar.
Very true.
Then you have real telemetry. You have real telemetry. And I was happy to hear Bob say, I think it was last night Bob was on, say that he's planning on looking into that, looking into the math of those that Fitbit data. So I know it's something he's planning on looking into himself. It's to me that's just like, and the thing is that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's a bunch of other devices out there, like for example, pacemakers. Pacemakers collect a certain amount of data. There's a lot of machines that go into people's bodies that collect data. How many people get abducted to have those devices in them? What are those devices talking about? What do they experience? I think there's a lot of data that might be sitting around the table that we haven't even touched yet.
Well, that's the big thing right there. There's a lot of data. We got to be able to figure out where that data is coming from, where we can push it. John, as we move forward here and start to look at the end of 2021, what is your favorite story of this year?
Keisha.
Explain that one for people who didn't hear it.
So the musician Keisha was on tour and caught wind of the fact that they were getting near no, what base were they near? They were near
they're at Wright-Patterson.
Wright-Patterson. Wright-Patterson, yeah, Wright-Patterson. Near Wright-Patterson. And she screams and basically demands that the coach, that the van like detour to this base. They luckily are able to call ahead with their, limited amount of influence and arrange a tour for her. So they're met at the gate. They're, given badges and ushered in. And long story short, at some point during the tour, Keisha had evidently been voicing her disdain with the way the tour was going and the fact that they weren't giving her the actual information, and she wanted to see the bloody aliens, right, sort of thing, right? And at one point, she took off running. She bolted, like full on exit stage left, like gone, and bolted and ran toward the secured area of the base. And Stephen Greenstreet, who many of you know, was there. He was the one filming it, so he's chasing her with a camera, and he's thinking, "I'm going to get shot," and she's running, and she runs right up to this big hangar in the secured area, and starts banging on the door, screaming, "Show me the aliens! I want to see those aliens!" And if we could just get, a third of America to show a third of that passion, disclosure would have happened a long time ago. I mean, think about. Forget how she did it. Okay, maybe not the best method for dislodging for disclosure out of a stone mountain, right? But the passion that she expressed doing what she did, that was huge. That was huge. Much respect for Keisha. That, like I said, you get a third of the people to give a third of that energy, and it would all be different. It would all be totally different. But you're talking to someone who's, probably all-time favorite story is the pancake story. So I typically go for the weird ones.
You are a weird one, my friend. You are a weird one. Well, you know what? I know you're going to be hanging out for the after show here.
Absolutely.
Coming up here in just a little bit. But you know what? Always a pleasure, my friend. And we will talk to you very soon.
Yep.
Let's get to the news. Shirky Poo has us all ready to go. So let's fire up her music. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky. All right, let's start off in Vancouver, where, remember about a month ago we had that big storm here that knocked out all the highways and pushed this giant barge onto the beach in Vancouver. Well, the city of Vancouver is actually showing humor for once because, Vancouver is known as a no fun allowed city. Well, they unveiled a holiday gift to the city from parks officials, a sign dubbing the beach at which the barge had been stranded for more than a month called Barge Chilling Beach. The Vancouver Park Board installed the sign at Sunset Beach, where a barge has been stranded since crashing into the seawall during storms on November 15th. Our little holiday gift to you, Vancouver, the park board tweeted with a potato of the sign, or photo, whatever. No matter what storms life may send our way, we'll always be here for you. The barge has been in place for over a month despite multiple attempts to move it. The stranded vessel has now become a tourist attraction at the beach. We've been seeing people kind of having fun, taking pictures, all the messages out there, and we thought, let's add to the fun and let's bring a little bit more joy to the season, if you will. Donnie Rosa, General Manager of the Vancouver Board of Parks and Recreation. The name Barge Chilling Beach is in reference to Dude Chilling Park, a joke sign installed at Guelph Park in 2014 after members of the public noticed a sculpture at the park called Reclining Figure resembled a lounging man. The joke sign was later stolen, but the park board then replaced it with an official one. Vancouverites have a unique sense of humor. We like to take these things and run with them, Rosa said. No, you don't. No, you don't have a sense of humor. You're Vancouver. Everything is not allowed in your city. Fireworks, not allowed. Fun, not allowed. Loud music, not allowed. Kids playing hockey in the streets, not allowed. Very un-Canadian. A British Columbia woman said the red-nosed Rudolph decoration has proven to be an irresistible target for an aggressive local deer despite its incandescent snout. Arlene Schmalek of Fort Nelson, which is, about 1,500 miles north of where I am, maybe less, let's say 1,000. No, about 800. About there. Says her family first repurposed the 3D archery target, made it into the size and shape of a white-tailed deer, into a Rudolph the Red-Nosed reindeer about 5 years ago. But they quickly discovered local deer apparently didn't think it was very funny. Yeah, she recently shared an attack from a real deer on the fake decoration. Every year, a buck in the area attacks him or hits him and knocks him over and breaks him. She said she was surprised that the deer weren't warded off by the glowing red light bulb that her husband installed on Rudolph's nose. I'm like, he has a bright red nose! I'm not really sure what they see. Schmalek theorized the bucks, who are in their rutting season and a little horny these days, might not be paying attention to Rudolph's features behind the decoration's antlers. She said her family plans to continue to repair and display Rudolph despite the repeated bullying attacks because the deer around Fort Nelson do not appreciate any reindeer games. Poor Rudolph. But there was that one foggy Christmas Eve when Santa came to say, Rudolph with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Yeah, then all those reindeer will love him. As they shouted out with glee, God darn it there, Rudolph, you're going to win this one. I can feel it. Police in Ohio have a real weird mystery on their minds. Somebody stole a bridge. Who steals a bridge? Okay. A 58-foot-long pedestrian bridge was stolen in Akron, Ohio. Police say the bridge formerly served as a pedestrian walkway at the Little Cuyahoga River, but was moved to an open field as part of a wetlands restoration project. But no, thieves had other plans, stealing the $40,000 bridge from its temporary home. They believe it was disassembled and taken from the field piece by piece. Who does that? Who steals a bridge? I don't get it. All right, final story for tonight. Who steals a bridge, Shirky Poo? A Florida man was reportedly banned from flying United Airlines. Why? Because he wouldn't wear a mask. Instead, he wore a red thong as a face covering while boarding a flight in protest of the federal mask mandate. Adam Jen of Cape Coral says, that's happened at Fort Lauderdale Airport. Got him booted off the plane that was bound for Washington, D.C. It's all nonsense, Jen says, with the mask requirement aboard planes. COVID doesn't know that we're at a cruising altitude. It's stupid. The whole thing is theater. Jen said Wednesday wasn't the first time he'd fashioned red panties into a mask aboard a plane. Every single flight has been met with different reactions from the flight crew, some with a wild appreciation, others confrontational. No kidding. Thank you, Florida man, for your red lacy panty mask. Appreciate that. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road. Before you ride, make sure your mirrors are clean and adjusted properly. And if you're going on a group ride, make sure the lead biker knows where they're going.
Ed, quick question. Where are you taking us?
Oh, I have no idea. Well, am I the leader? Because I was following that dude with the red helmet. Where is he?
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.
Brought to you by Noggin. Need a little extra help building your child's math and reading skills? Their favorite characters from Nick Jr. shows like Paw Patrol, Bubble Guppies, Blue's Clues, and Blaze are here to help.
Let's get to work!
And they're in Noggin, the smart and fun learning app, where activities are designed to grow the skills your child needs to succeed in school and in life. Fabulous! What's even more fabulous is that you can claim a limited time holiday offer of 99 cents a month plus taxes for 3 months by visiting noggin.com/iHeart. Start your free trial today. $7.99 a month plus taxes until you cancel after free trial ends. Visit noggin.com for terms and conditions.